Castellano. He was keeping everything himself. Do you think that the Chico and Gravano go against him if they're not starving under him?
It's hard to say. I think if it came from Gotti, he's a very strong presence, man. It's very hard to, if it's coming from him, it's very, very hard to refuse that guy.
Yeah.
It's one thing to kill a boss, but to kill a boss in Manhattan, rush hour, you know how many people were on the streets at 5:30 on a Monday? I mean,
Christmas shopping, yeah.
Exactly. I mean, that's really.
Fast forward 3 years after that, 5-10 years after that, everybody's doing good on both sides of the pond. I mean, the river, the Hudson River.
Yeah.
So, I don't know.
Gotti had a relationship with the guy, John Amato, or John D'Amato.
Well, that was
allegedly gay. Yeah,
that was the Cavalcanti guys.
Yeah, exactly.
He had a really strong presence here in Belleville too. I mean, he had
Brooklyn. I had a Brooklyn guy named Joe. Bobby Cabert was a whale on the Jersey side and was Gotti's emissary in Jersey. Very powerful captain.
Yeah,
with
absolutely.
With the Gambinos. Is that a name? Did you guys hear from the New York side?
I never did.
Really?
Yeah, it's interesting. You can be like 10 miles away, and they're 20 miles or 30 miles. And God can be super powerful, but you never heard him because he's out of the borough. I'll
tell you how strong Gotti's presence was. So, Bobby Cabert came from Belleville, went over there, did a hit for them. He got made with those guys, or he got upped. I don't know if he got made or got upped. And came time for trial. Bobby Cabert, who was from our neighborhood, he was John Gotti's guy in Jersey, was in our neighborhood in Belleville. He got offered 10 years. And Gotti said nobody takes a plea. And they followed him, and Cabert got life. He got convicted and died in jail.
He got offered 10 years?
Got offered 10 years.
Holy shit.
And John says, we don't admit anything. This is a new thing. We don't admit anything. And our neighborhood guy went away for life.
Wow.
Yeah. Just to answer Bandit Dane, the guys under Castellano, you got to remember, they weren't with Gotti. That were the Brooklyn, Staten Island guys. Right. Gravano hardly knew Gotti, only from bouncing around. They were starving under Castellano. He was giving everything away. Yeah. So my question was, do you think that Gravano and the Chico, who was a loyal guy to Chico, would have backed Gotti if they were doing fine with Castellano? I think some of it was they weren't doing fine with Castellano, and when they waited, they thought they were better with Gotti.
I'm going to go back to this. If John gets 4 guys in a room, he's like a, what do you call it? When they manipulate your brain. What's it called?
Oh, I know. I know what you mean. I can't think of it either. Persuasive. He's persuasive.
Yeah, you can't. You're walking out of here doing whatever he wants you to do.
Someone told me once that if he was standing in front of you in 5 minutes, he could convince you he wasn't there.
What's that called? The guy. They put
you
on.
I understand. Yeah.
Yeah. I think they went with them because they realized he's got to do this, and he probably would pull it off. And if he does, where are they going to be? Because I think most of the guys that were at Sparks, they were Gotti's people. So, I think that plays into it because, they were smart enough to know.
In my opinion, you have to be around. You have to be around. You got to be a presence. You got to be around. If you're not around, things are just going to happen so fast under your shoes. You're not even going to know what's going to hit you. You got to be around. And you got to be, you can't be a boss. You got to be a leader, right?
Yeah.
That's in legitimate worlds. That's in every world. You have to be a leader, not a boss. So Gotti was a little bit of both. But no one's gonna go against what Gotti said. I'll say it 100 times. 5 guys in the room. He's gonna get your brain to think the way he wants you to think. The only thing that bothered me about Gotti is that he wouldn't let anybody take plea deals, and that's a little tough.
Yeah.
When you're going into the 90s and you can't take plea deals, in the 80s you can't take. It's a little tough. There's a presence. We know there's Cosa Nostra. There's a mafia. What are you hiding? You know what I mean? Take your plea, do your time, come out.
Tommy,
10
what do
years,
you
10 years state. The guy would have been out in 7 years, 8 years.
Tommy, what do you think of the story Gravano said, which is odd? I wouldn't believe Gotti would allow this when he said that he told Tommy Biglotti's brother, even though we killed your brother, you're safe. I can't
Yeah.
imagine Gotti would be okay with that, knowing that there's a threat out there that I killed your brother. You know I killed your brother. Do you believe that story? That
It's a
Gotti
risk.
knew?
It's risk versus reward. I don't. That's a very tough one.
Yeah.
But I say it like I said it before. If you're loyal to this life, this goes with it. These are the nuts and bolts. I saw the nuts and bolts from the inside. I lived it. I know the nuts and bolts. I went into rooms knowing that I would possibly not come out of these rooms, that my own family was going to knock me off in a social club. So the point is, you know it going in. So yeah, there's a possibility that they would that, but then emotion takes over, so it's very tough.
I guess, yeah, you're right.
And that John Gotti, as far as his relationship with the media, you know, everybody says he was posing for the cameras.
Yep.
Basically, it's a gift and a curse because being out there like that, he got locked up. But I think the fact that they were always up his ass is why it would be difficult to kill him, you know, because the feds were watching him so tight.
But
Would you feel comfortable, you know, going to Mulberry Street or anywhere? You never know who's in the car watching you guys. So it was like the gift and a curse, I believe.
okay, but when you sign up for that, you know that this is a possibility. They tried to kill him at the social